So if you've been wondering exactly how these two heads perform against each other at an average swing speed, then you found the right video, because that is exactly what we're going to be doing today. An in-depth performance-based review and test of these two heads on quad, and showing you how they perform. So welcome back to Elite Performance Golf Studios, the home of scientific, in-depth and technical reviews, comparisons, head-to-heads and tests. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do consider going down and subscribing. It will mean a lot to me. And today we've got another really good technical, in-depth, performance-based head-to-head of the Titleist TSR2 and the Taylormade Stealth 2. At an average swing speed, which is going to be great for a lot of you to see. I get a lot of requests for that, so that will be good. As always, it's going to be as scientific and in-depth as possible. The heads will be playing exactly the same loft, and I'll show you how we do that later on. Same loft, exactly the same shaft, same length, same grip, same time, on quad, hitting plenty of shots with each, which I'll show you. So yeah, it should be a really good technical in-depth test again, and show you exactly how these heads perform. So let's jump in. Okay, so first up, we're going to be looking at the performance element of these drivers, the bit that everyone really cares about. And then after that, we'll touch on looks, sound, feel, all that kind of stuff down the line. But first, it is the performance. And in my hand, I have the TSR2 first up. So let's touch briefly on specs. We've got obviously the TSR2. It's a 10-degree head, just a stock head weight in the back. Nothing crazy at all. It's going to be just set at 10 degrees, neutral, playing 10 degrees. Shaft-wise, we've got the Ventus TR5S, because I'm going to be swinging a little bit slower than I normally would today, trying to get that average swing speed, so this should be nice, really. Still love the feel of the shaft. I feel like I could game it at my normal speed, to be honest. Great shaft. This setup is playing 45.5 inches with grip cap, so cut about 45.25, and the swing weight is a smidge under D3, so about D2.9 in terms of the swing weight. So this is going to be the first setup, so let's get a set with this, and then let's jump into the Stealth 2. Right, so that first one was swinging at 105, so that one's getting deleted. It's going to be a challenge swinging at 100. So what I'll do is I'll leave anything in between 98 and 102, because that's kind of what I would see typically. Someone who's swinging around 100 miles an hour, they would deviate from 98 to 102. Anything above or below that, I'll delete, because it won't be fair in terms of the performance of the heads. Right, let's tame it down a little bit. A little high in the face. 102, all right, okay. That one can stay. Yeah, take that. Felt a smidge high on the face. Yep, couple mil high toe. Still pretty damn good. 141 efficiency, not great, but the launch and spin on that one was pretty high considering I hit it a little bit high toe. Now, stay tuned actually, because based on what I've just seen there, I'm going to be kind of tackling a bit of a myth that everyone who's got a slower swing speed needs more loft, kind of the higher spin head design to keep it in the air. No. And it will be a good test of these clubs, because so far trying to swing at 100 miles an hour, I have not struck the ball well. So it's going to be a good test of these clubs. That's pretty much exactly the same, I reckon, in terms of the strike. I mean, two drives are great. Hardly any side spin whatsoever. Again, didn't feel like a particularly great strike. Yeah, again, a little bit toey, a little bit high. Launch and spin's definitely too high. Efficiency a little bit better on that one. But again, I mean, for a bit of a misstrike, like, it's literally, what was there, like 4 revs of right spin on that? It's literally a line ball, like just dead straight, didn't move. So I really think when it comes to gaining confidence, like, you just can't beat this head. Like, it's just, especially when you spend a bit of time with it, it's just so reliable. Like, it really does give you confidence. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger behind the ball. Some players might not like to see that, but honestly, it really is just such a helpful head. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad at all. Yeah, it's just way too much loft. I mean, the face was swung a little bit from the inside, and the face was a bit open. Open face is always going to produce more dynamic loft at impact. therefore we see the launch and spin come up. But I mean, that's a pretty decent shot, pretty decent strike. It's not very far offline. 18.5 launch and basically 3,000 backspin. This is not a fitted driver for my swing, even at this swing speed. Again, really do stay tuned to the end for that little surprise I'm going to throw in. Pretty good, nice little fade. Yeah, it was a good strike. Again, launch and spin is just too high, but yeah, really nice. Tiny little bit more of a fade delivery there, but really good. 144 efficiency, like that. I mean, that dispersion so far, I think I should just always swing like this. It'd be way straighter. Okay, just seems really, really controllable. I know I'm swinging slow, but just, yeah, it's friendly, controllable, just good. So let's jump into Stealth 2. Right into the new bad boy, the Stealth 2. Yeah, I do think it looks really cool, to be honest, this driver. I mean, there's just some little lines and the kind of chunks. It does look very like jetty, you know, like a jet, like a stealth bomber jet that you would expect to look like. Very, very cool. So specs-wise, we've obviously got exactly the same shaft, still the Ventus TR Red 5S, just taking it straight out of the Titleist and put it straight into the Taylormade. The loft obviously is 10.5 on this head. However, because we use an adapter system from Club Connect called Unifit, it's a 1 degree loft sleeve, but it allows me to turn it down half a degree. So I've got this turned down half a degree, so it's exactly the same 10 degree as the TSR2. So it does change a couple of other things, like the lie by about 0.8 of a degree, and it will slightly open the face a little bit, but I think for this example, having them set exactly the same loft is more important than those other things for a fair test. So yeah, exactly the same shaft. Swing weight is exactly 1 heavier, so I'll weigh the heads later, but again, similar for the TSR3 versus Stealth 2 Plus. This is obviously heavier, so probably 2-3 grams heavier when compared to the TSR2. I'll check that later, but it's swing weight in just a smidge under D4, so that's heavier. So yeah, let's get hitting. Keep swinging too fast. That last one, absolute line ball, but it's got to be deleted. Swung too fast. That can't be any quicker than 99. So that's a pretty good flight, that. Slightly down the left, but it felt good. Felt like a decent strike. Yep, tiny bit toey still, but yep. Better swing speed, good efficiency, really good efficiency, solid straight off the bat. Nice ball fly, felt really good. Must say, for this style of head, it sits really nicely behind the ball. Again, we'll go more into detail with that later, and I'll show you all the aerial shots and everything, but sits really nice. And off that first one, I actually think it feels more solid and sounds better as well than the TSR2. Just a lower crunch and feels more solid. A little bit of a fadey one, but still not a million miles offline. Tiny bit high, maybe. 2 mil. That's a tiny bit. Yeah, again, not going to grumble at the result at all. That was a good one. 144 efficiency, 15.5 launch, 3,000 backspin. Yeah, it's just spinning up a little bit too much, really. But certainly would take that on, of course. Definitely should swing like this all the time, actually go straight. 100 on the dot. I guess high toe, pretty sure. Yeah. High toe, good numbers though, still okay efficiency. Again, I'm just delivering too much loft with these drivers, so it's going to be really interesting to have a little bit of fun later on with some low lofted drivers. But I mean, from hitting quite a few with this now, the forgiveness, like, again, really, really impressed. Same as with the Stealth 2 Plus, like, just that didn't feel great. And look at that ball flight. I mean, it's awesome. Again, that's like the opposite. That's necky, but I mean, cannot grumble at that. 270 down the middle. Yeah, again, a little bit low. It felt a little bit worse than that. As I keep saying, it always feels worse than it looks in that graphic. But 144 efficiency, nice little fade back to center. Forgiveness for me, it's definitely there. Whew, right, so let's dive into this data. So I hit over 60 shots, 30-ish with both. I've been hitting for over an hour to try and get a really good data set with these clubs. And I struck them all over the face. There was some toe, heel, low, high, really tested the whole face. So it's a really good data set, I feel this. So first off, we're going to start with the average dispersion. So I can just show you. So this is them overlaid. So I hope you can kind of see that. So the blue is the Stealth 2 and the red is the TSR2. So actually the kind of blue circle just inside the red circle, but for the most part, I mean, you can hardly really tell them apart. The spread is so equal. They're both so good, so straight. I mean, one thing noticeable, that little dot, blue, 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 blue. I mean, there is a line so straight of Stealth 2 shots. I mean, it was easier to hit straight. I hate to say it again, but it was easier to hit straight. But yeah, realistically from that dispersion, they're both like, I think on par forgiveness-wise, like both so forgiving on off-center hits, in my opinion, especially at this speed. Hit some horrendous toe strikes, heel strikes. You probably saw a couple, and it still stayed dead straight with decent numbers. I mean, both these drivers are just undeniably good in that area, I think. Right, so performance numbers, ball speed. So we've got Stealth 2 on the top, TSR2 on the bottom. Ball speed, dead heat, really. Absolute dead heat. Launch, TSR2 launched a smidge higher and span a smidge higher, which I would say I did see consistently. I mean, it's not a lot. It's at half a degree and 100 revs. I mean, that could probably easily flip given the standard deviations there. But I do think it's very slightly higher launch, higher spin on average, the TSR2 than the Stealth 2 at the same loft. Again, if you were to buy a Stealth 2 at 10.5 versus the TSR2 at 10 degrees, I feel that would be a pretty equal when it comes to performance. So yeah, we saw a little bit higher launch and a little bit more spin out of TSR2. Again, the standard deviation was tighter on the Stealth 2 than it was TSR2. Again, I do feel like it was just a little bit, I don't know, I just felt like I got on with it better. I honestly did. It was just, I hit it more consistently, I think. Carry, nothing in it. Like again, Stealth 2 slightly more consistent maybe on that standard deviation, but there's nothing in it really. There, like I said, we just touched on the dispersion. Like, there really is not much in these heads, to be honest with you, in terms of that performance. We'll have a quick look at the club data to see how I delivered them for you, to see if it's pretty fair. Right, so quick look at the club data page, and we'll dive in to see why we had too much launch and spin in a second. But so club speed, I was trying to swing around 100, both were 101, so really fair there with both of them. You can see both the efficiency of 1.43, so I wasn't being more efficient with one than the other. One we weren't getting more ball speed out of, as we just saw on the ball data page, both as efficient as each other. Dynamic loft, 22.5 with the Stealth 2, 23 with TSR2, so half a degree in it. So they're delivering pretty similar dynamic loft numbers at impact, to be honest, half a degree. Within human variance, that I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. And the way that we actually delivered it, the path, I was slightly more out to him with the Stealth 2 at 2 degrees versus 1 degree with TSR2, but again, it's 1 degree in it. Still, I'm pretty happy with that as a consistent delivery to show you a good representation of how these clubs perform head-to-head, which is all this is ever about, just making sure we get across an accurate representation of the clubs and not me. And the reason that we're obviously seeing too much launch and spin is, as you all know, I hit up on the ball quite a lot. So I was 5.5 and 6 degrees up on both these clubs. Just getting pretty close, happy with that. But we're hitting 5, 6 up, and we're delivering 23 degrees of dynamic loft. Like, this is just too much loft. Like, that spin loft window is just too wide. So we're seeing too much launch, too much backspin, regardless of club speed, right? So pretty happy with that delivery. Pretty happy that's a good, accurate representation of how these clubs perform head-to-head. Really happy with that. But yeah, as I mentioned on the last bit, too much height, too much descent, just not optimizing really. So let's have a couple of hits with something else really quickly before we dive into the rest. So a lot of people with slower swing speed will always assume that they need more loft maybe a higher spinning head design, more forgiving head, in order to help get the ball up in the air, keep it in the air as long as possible in order to maximize that carry. Well, there are a lot of variables in there, but this is a TSR4 at 7.25 degrees. So I'll show you one with this. It's a little high on the face, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so we swung at 102. Okay, but in all fairness, what was the average swing speed on the other test? 101, so 1 mile an hour quicker. But let's look at the numbers. So efficiency comes up because we're delivering less loft. Obviously, it's a much lower lofted head and a lower spinning head design. So the efficiency comes up, therefore the ball speed comes up. I know the swing speed was slightly high, but it's like 1 mile an hour, so it's pretty good. Ball speed comes up. Launch is still a little bit on the high side, obviously, because we're hitting up, but now that spins basically at 2100. So whereas before, in all fairness, it was an average at 240, but we're now carrying it 265, rolling out to 290. So the peak height's going to be lower. That means that the angle of descent is going to be coming in kind of shallower. It's going to be running more. It's going to be more penetrating ball flight. You're going to get more run, more carry distance, everything. Like, those are pretty good numbers. Again, anyone swinging at 100 miles an hour would never even consider probably trying a TSR4 at 7.25 degrees. I'm not saying that you should if you swing at 100 miles an hour. My whole point here is it all depends on your delivery, not on your speed. So just bear that in mind. Don't just go and guess and buy a club because you swing at 100 miles an hour and you think that's what you need. I've fit so many people low swing speed into very low lofted, low spin head designs and had fantastic results. Dropped their handicap a lot because they gained 20, 30 yards. So yeah, just be aware of that. Right, so now let's touch on sound and feel. And again, this is going to be very subjective for everybody, whether or not it feels good to you or sounds good to you. You're probably going to struggle to hear down the camera, but I've got another mic down here, so I might be able to get some kind of feedback on the sound, but I'll give you my kind of take on how they sound and feel personally. Let's just hit a couple. First up, I've got the TSR2 in my hand. Let's see what we think about this. Like it is quite a tinny kind of sound still, to be honest. Obviously titanium driver, so it's decent drive. It's definitely like a little bit more higher pitch. I'll show you a few more shots. Yeah, I don't know whether that's coming across on camera or not, but it's definitely a little bit of a higher pitch, tinnier kind of sound. Right, so into the Stealth 2, see what we think about this sound. Definitely lower pitch. Definitely like, again, I think I said this in a couple of the other reviews of Stealth 2 Plus. It kind of sounds and feels more what we thought Stealth 1 would probably sound like, that carbony kind of duller, muted, thuddy kind of sound and feel. So again, I'll do the same sort of thing. I'll overlay a few and see what you think, but it's definitely duller. Yeah, sounds better, I must say. I personally prefer it, especially, I mean, it's indoors, so when the TSR2 kind of pings, it kind of echoes a little bit, whereas the duller, more kind of thuddy, muted sound, it sounds better in my opinion. So let's talk about looks. Okay, then looks, again, going to be very subjective. I'll give you my take on it and show you some nice shots of the head so you can get a good feel for it. First of all, kind of down by the ball, the shape of the Stealth 2, I definitely prefer. Obviously, the TSR versus the TSI, the TSR2 is a better shape. However, it's still a little bit more elongated, a little bit more pulled to the back. The crown looks a little bit almost bulby, so it looks like it kind of comes up and then down, whereas the Stealth 2 just looks flatter across the top and a lot more rounded at the back, just a nice round shape. It doesn't look pulled back, elongated at all. It looks really nice, sits nice. It looks like the face is a little bit smaller from top to bottom. Possibly that's how it looks down by the ball to my eye anyway. The TSR looks a little bit taller, top to bottom. So yeah, I think just from a shaping perspective and how it looks down behind the ball, I would definitely have to give that win to the Stealth 2. Again, with this being a little bit more lofted, you can see the red face down there, but it's very, not really noticeable, to be honest. And now with the red kind of lipstick around the outside of the Stealth 2, it kind of all gels in quite nicely. And I've actually got a Ventus red TR in here, so it's a red, red, red. It actually looks quite nice together, to be honest, the combo, but yeah, you can't see it much. It doesn't really put me off at all. And then on top of these drivers, I mean, I think I touched on this with the TSR3 versus Stealth 2 Plus video that I did not so long ago. I mean, they're just extremely different looking clubs, aren't they? I mean, the TSR, very kind of understated, still modern, but not too much going on the top really. Very kind of classic and nice looking driver, whereas the Stealth 2 is just like jet kind of, you know what I mean? Like big, bright, in your face, kind of edgy, lots of different curves going on, pointy, you know, it's pretty cool, you know, really pretty cool. It'd be maybe like Aston Martin and like Ferrari, do you know what I mean? So it's just maybe a little bit more in your face. But I actually think they've done a really good job with Stealth 2. I think, like I said in the other reviews, bringing back the ring around the outside looks really smart, frames it well. The kind of, the color scheme obviously is still really, really nice this year. So again, similar to the TSR3 versus Stealth 2 Plus, I'm gonna have to call it a draw because they're just so different. They really are. So, but I really like them both. They're really, really good. Let me know what you think in the comments. Right, so there we have it. Yeah, sum up. I mean, performance-wise, I mean, you saw the numbers. They were unbelievably close. I really don't feel like these heads perform too dissimilarly in terms of the launch, spin, forgiveness, kind of bias. I didn't really feel like one had one more, like more of a draw bias or more of a fade bias. They're both pretty similar, pretty neutral. Yeah, performance is realistically a dead heat, to be honest. Sound, Stealth 2 for me. It's more muted, sounds a bit more powerful. TSI is a little bit tinny. Looks, I probably have to give it to Stealth 2 just based on the fact I prefer the shape of it down by the ball. It's pretty much all I've really got to go on. So yeah, that probably edges it there. So yeah, I mean, looks, sound, feel, I probably edge to Stealth 2. Performance, there's nothing in it. The value of these drivers, the price is pretty much the same. You know, very, very close, £500, $530, that kind of similar price bracket. So there's not really too much going on there. So yeah, I mean, I think realistically, it's going to come down to brand, looks, and probably sound and feel to most people in these drivers, because the performance is so similar. Obviously a very different look. One's a bit more understated, one's a bit more in your face kind of thing. So people are going to have preferences one way or another with that. But I mean, on the whole, again, fantastic drivers. TSR, still one of the most stable, best performing drivers out there throughout the range, 2, 3, and 4. I've actually been dabbling with the 4 a little bit, which is fantastic. And Stealth 2, really, really good improvement. I mean, two fantastic drivers. So really hope you enjoyed that video. Please comment below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to see. We've got so much coming. We've just filmed Paradigm initial test review that might have actually launched before this video. I don't know which one I'm going to launch yet, but that's either out or coming, so go and watch it or stay tuned, one way or the other. And loads of head-to-heads with the Paradigm. We've got Aerojet, we've got everything in now, so loads coming. So please do subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.